Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for Pure SPX. So, there's no other way to say this, but I'm going to start this off. We have some bad news. This is going to be a scrapped project. There just comes a time where you have to know when to toss in the towel, and I will admit this is one of those times. Now, my approach to this was all wrong. Because I don't actually own a piece of the SP1200. Trying to reverse engineer it from videos alone just wasn't good enough, wasn't the best practice, because just wanting to see how the menus actually work and how they actually navigate just from watching videos alone. People do cover most of the information, but just the way that I like to work, like to have my hands on things, or at least have an understanding of what has to be done on the back end and have more time to think about it, like in front of my face kind of thing. So yes, this is going to be a scrapped project, and this did happen to me before. If you happen to pay attention to some of my other videos, you would know that my first project did take a couple of years to write because I rewrote it a few times, and sadly this is one of those instances. Now, all of this work on the back end is not going to go to waste. I do have this menu system almost set up as an external of its own, so I would be releasing this pretty soon. Just a few more things to do with the help file. And like I said, a lot of this back end work is going to go to use. So what exactly have I been doing? I have been working on more externals, which brings me to this here. So I have been oh, don't crash on me. Are you gonna crash? Yeah, I think it's gonna crash. Hopefully it doesn't crash, but I think it's going to crash. But so the external here, COM port connect, I will actually zoom in here, or let me just close this real quick and then reopen PD, because it seems to be lagging because I had that buggy instance of Pure SPX open. And then I'm going to open up COM port help. So this is what I've been working on as of late. This will allow DIY devices to be wired up into Pure data, and if a pin, like a digital pin, is high or low, then you could wire up bangs accordingly. And you could have, there's 10 banks here, so let's say we have a Arduino Mega, we could have, which has 53 digital pins. We could have 530 pins depending on which bank is selected, because we have 53 pins on this bank, 53 pins on this bank, 53 pins on this bank, and then times 10. 53 times 10, folks, is 530. Hey, congrats, here we go. So yeah, I zoomed in here so you can kind of read what COM port connect is all about. And I finished this a few days ago. So that's basically what it does. And I just noticed that when you zoom in here, the icons stay small. That's interesting. So I'm going to zoom out here. So I've been working on this little plugin, or external. I have been working on something a lot more robust and satisfying. So as I mentioned, a lot of that internal back-end work for Pure SPX did not go to waste. And after I finished the COM port connect, I wanted a fast way to sort of browse and import samples to quickly edit them, like setting the start and end positions for, like, say, a cue point or something for a sample. And that's when this happened. These errors are because of the sliders here. But yeah, never mind that. that's when this happened. So this happened over the last few weeks. You could see Comport Connect is imported here. Although I have been sort of testing just with an Arduino and some momentary buttons off to the side. I don't have like a faceplate for my hardware device, so I can't really start building it, although it is put together on a breadboard right now. So that's what I've been testing Comport Connect with, just for in the sake of theory if it works. So I have that imported here ready to go to link up all my buttons. And I'll show you just how it works basically. So I have some like a feature list here of what exactly this is. The working title for it right now is Bangbox, CE Bangbox, Clear Essentials Bangbox, that is. So what exactly is going on here? We have our play stop and record controls and sequence timing. So we could set our time division. I actually had this updating like what it actually is. We could hear the metronome here, or we should be if I actually enabled DSP. Where are you? Whoop. Oh, I was looking at a project there. Okay, so now we should be able to hear the metronome. No, we can't. Why can we not hear the metronome? Can we hear the metronome? Oh, is my output on the right output? Probably not. Nope. There we go. Currently I don't have the samples actually triggering. Like the sequencer down here is just a bunch of dummy information that's from a text file, but it is being populated, although nothing's being triggered at the moment. So that is just dummy information. So yeah, back to the feature list. We have the play, stop, and record control. We have our swing, humanize, and mistakes sliders. These are for obviously the swing. I do have a video that explains exactly what this does and what they can do to a pattern. Normally you would just have swing, but again, if you want to check out the videos previously in my channel here, you could see exactly what those do. It's kind of neat how I kind of jam that together there. And we could set the total amount of steps, and you can see that the pitch sequencer is kind of halfway in the midst of working, where the mute toggles don't want to follow yet. But yeah, that's how you would set the steps. And our file browser, this is what directly happened after I finished Comport Connect, because I wanted the quick and efficient way of browsing samples and start banging out a beat. So we actually configure our sample archive. Like if we have a master directory, we would use set that using the cog icon there, and then we could browse through all of our sample directories. And let's say we have, I only have 34 currently, but let's say we have thousands of samples or sample directories to browse through. Currently we're already by default selected on archive selection. So let's say I wanted to go to, instead of clicking the next button a bunch of times, say I wanted to skip to directory 30, I would go over to our number pad, type in, reset first, type in 30, enter, and now we are on 30. Same goes for our wave selection. So let's say we want to browse the T Customs Productions. We would load that, and now we are in T Customs Productions. So we do have a preview here. We can go with any sort of length that we want, but normally I just leave it on 1 second, so we have just a quick chop. Click the enable speaker, and now we should hear the sample. And again, you'll notice that if I make the sample length a little longer and go back to some of those longer samples. And again, seeing as how this one has 100 samples, let's say we want to go to sample 90, instead of clicking the next arrow however many times, we could just click reset, type in 90, make sure that we're selected for the wave selection, and now we are on 90. So that's how we would do that. Now, I did already talk about COM port select, or the COM port connect, so that's basically this little section here. And as mentioned, a lot of work did go into this, like behind the scenes, to make it universal, so you can use it for different sort of patches and connect external DIY hardware devices to it. Which brings me to the sample selector, or pardon me, mix English sequence mixer. So at the moment it's just really basic velocity controls. There will be mute, solo, and pan, and that's for this blank space here. That's what's going to be there. So that's pretty straightforward, just a little simple little mixer. And we have our effects, sequence effects area. I'm going to have a delay, chorus, reverb, and band filters all in this. And I'm not sure if my mouse is appearing in this video. I hope it does. For some reason it messes up like that. Yeah, so we have off to the right hand side there, we have the sequence effects area, and I do have those effects done. If you paid attention to any of my other videos, you will see exactly how they sound, so you can go and check that out. And our sample rate selection, so within Pure Data we can force a sample rate. And I just noticed here that it says 96, but I for some reason have 98, so I will have to fix that. So yeah, we would then be able to just quickly match the sample rate, so we're playing at the right sample rate. Okay, so the sample rate selector, that's there, and we do have the pattern and sequence selection. Currently I don't have it loading into new patterns, as I'm working on just the main sequence, as if it was just sequence 0 or sequence 1, but starting at 0, because that's just how computers like to work. Okay, sequence and pattern selector. We do have a MIDI note learn button here, so that's pretty straightforward. When we do learn a MIDI note and we're listening later on, whenever that note is heard, the sample on that sequence will be played, so obviously it'll be triggered from, like, say, an external MIDI source, and we could have them sequenced from an external MIDI source basically. So the pad sliders, onto the pad slider, we can actually load in some samples and show you exactly what they do here. So let's get a longer sample. Actually, I'm going to go to a different directory here. Yeah, I think this one's good. Yeah, this one actually has a couple. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll load that up and we can see file details here and everything starts to populate. So yeah, pretty standard file details. And let's say that's good for our first sample. or actually I put it in the second sample spot because everything starts at 0 with computers. So let's say that's a good one. Let's say we want that variation in there too. We would load that up. And I do have a few reset buttons near tune here, just so that we could forcefully take the tuning from the default sample and then make sure that it's populated correctly. So if I do that and click reset, sometimes it kind of freezes and bugs out, but in a perfect world you won't have to change that at all. It'll automatically find the tuning. So that is the tuning for that sample, and same with this one. We will forcefully do that, and you'll notice that the start and end positions are changed as well. Everything is being logged currently, although it doesn't take effect like where the actual start position and end position should be played from currently, but everything is kind of being saved to file. So everything is in preparation for it to work. It's just I haven't taken the steps to connect the dots, so to speak. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so loading samples in to show you the sliders. Yeah, so if I go back sample here, you can see some things kind of bugged out. So we want to take the pitch from the default tuning, and that's what the reset button is for. So now all of our sliders have the correct tuning, and same goes with the velocity. That will take whatever this is set to. So now if we go back to the pitch here and then slightly change it, move that down a bit, move that up, move that down, move this down, move that up a little bit, and down, up, down, up, down. Okay, and then same goes with the velocity. We could have different, like a cascading sort of vibe to it. And yeah, so that is the pad sliders. And one cool thing to mention that let's say for example in the SP1200 we would have to load in a sample, make all of our adjustments, record something, and then load up another sample, make all of our adjustments, and all of the sliders, you have to change them and your stuff isn't saved. So if we go to a new sequence here, you'll see that everything changed. Click reset, make sure we have the correct settings here, and let's go backwards to just show a difference that something actually did change here. Back to pitch, and I forget what this sample sounded like, to be honest. It might be just that. Yeah, so just the other variation. Okay, so we can see that we have our different set of velocities here, and if I go back to sample 1, we can see that everything is still changed from our first settings that we put through. And same goes for the pitch. If I quickly go back to the pitch, everything is saved. So that's the pitch sliders and everything to do with that. So change modes, use the buttons to the right of the slider. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's basically what I've been showing you there. Reset the pitch, default. Oh, yeah. So the yeah, when we reset the pitch here, the default velocity is always set to 8, or yeah, I believe 8. That's what I have written down here. That's done automatically, and also I should mention that the fine and coarse points do also get tied together with that. So if you do have to reset, you have to know that you're going to lose your start and end positions currently. In a perfect world, later on, this won't be the case. So we will be able to not only route these to our DIY hardware, but a mouse and keyboard, so we could bang on these with just like a keyboard plugged in through USB. Um, which brings us to the pitch and velocity sequencer. So currently this is just dummy information that's being saved to file. And you'll notice here that some of the velocities that I had been just kind of showing you did get saved. And some of them are kind of buggy still. So yeah, the mixer's still a little weird. So yeah, as mentioned, just some dummy information that's being saved here just to show that it worked. And when I click velocity here, we are now editing all the velocities for the currently 5 showing sequences. Initially I was going to have these only as sort of ghost channels, but then everything kind of fell in line from the way that I coded it, and I was able to sort of like say if I make changes to these here, now these changes are going to be kept when this sequence number 7 gets moved up to here. Or yeah, so there you go. You can see those changes even though I made them down here and not on this selected current sequence. Everything was still saved. So yeah, that is the sequencer for pitch and velocity. Okay, so when recording, I think I'm going to have this like turn to a bright red color just to indicate that we're recording, just to make it easier on the eyes. Modified indicate, yeah, so only when recording you're going to be changing and modifying this selected sequence inside of the pitch sequencer. That's why it's in the bright blue rectangle. Same with as for the mixer, it's just to make it easier on the eyes, and as I said before, just for a visual. And so we're getting down to our last 2 points. We could have up to a maximum of 32 samples and sequences per pattern. So that means we can do some pretty crazy sort of rhythms and that sort of thing with this small sequencer. And lastly, we have the old school style tracker style song builder. So if anybody is familiar with tracker style music, this will look familiar in such the way that you would used to build songs. There wasn't a whole lot of graphical user interfaces, so a lot of it was text-based, and this was just a viable way that I thought would be to build out a song without a whole bunch of stuff going on, and to keep it not so expensive if this was to be on some sort of embedded system. So that was quite the video, almost 25 minutes. Sorry if I did ramble on a bit. That is currently where this project is, and I do apologize if the Pure SPX I let you down with that, but I feel like this will be something better, and it is something more original, although the sort of the workflow is similar to the SP1200. I feel like this is more ideal for what I want to do and my sort of workflow, and I hope you liked the video. I have been thinking about doing sort of like a captain's log with this, seeing as how I've done this in a few weeks, because as I mentioned, when I was working on the COM-Port Connect for Pure SPX, I just started having a few ideas of how externals should be written and made sort of into smaller modules, And that's exactly what ended up, because I was able to not so much toss this together, but my understanding of how it should go together kind of amplified and allowed me to write stuff a lot quicker. Um, yeah, so like for example, like this slider is actually the pad sliders here above the pads is one object, and along with the pitch and velocity sequencer, that is the same object, but it has a indexed identifier, so just a float in front to identify which slider the information has to go to. So basically, long story short, we're using a lot less memory and things will run faster because we don't have a bunch of duplicate objects. Everything's being pulled from one single object and then updated accordingly. Um, so yeah, 25 minutes, I think this is long enough. I've been rambling on. Again, Pure SPX was a failure. I'm sorry I had to cut things short with that because my attention was drawn elsewhere. And I think it's for the better, because if you have paid attention to any of my other videos, you could see that most of the structure is already there. Although I haven't been really playing any sort of sequences, I think you can understand that the theory behind this will come together. And for that, I'm very excited of what this could be. This could be some sort of faceless embedded system with, say, like a small 2x16 LCD displaying all the information once all the serial COM port information is being sent through properly. So yeah, this could be something big. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you if you have been paying attention to my videos. As I kind of touched on, I was thinking about doing some sort of captain's log to keep everybody kind of updated and be more frequent on YouTube with this project coming. Yeah, so let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. It's been a pleasure. And let me know what you think of some titles for this. Alright, it's Reggie Retro, everybody. Peace out.